Yo, what's good, guys? We are back at it again with another MLB The Show video for you guys, and today is going to be the final positional tier list. I'll still do a top 50 players to keep you guys up to date about who just the best players in the game are. But in general, this is the last positional tier list. I'm doing the infield. Something worth noting, this tier list is a little more compact because there's so many infield positions, and a lot of these guys can play multiple infield positions. So a lot of these guys have good versatility. You can move them around, find the best spot that they work for you on your team. So there's not quite as many names as like an outfield tier list, but also there's a couple more names than I wanted there to be on here because there's just too many good options. So real quick before we get into it, if you guys do enjoy the content, if it does help you create some lineups, some fun teams to use, feel free to like, feel free to subscribe. It means a lot. And yeah, let's get into it, right? So Mondesi, this card's fallen. He's definitely S tier, like first week the game was out. Still probably A tier, has an insane swing. If you are somebody who only plays on All-Star, maybe Hall of Fame, uses the Buxton boost, easily goes up, right? But this is assuming no team boost, no captains, because if you do captains, a lot of cards become very, very viable cards. Adam Dunn, A tier without the boost. You can put him on the Nolan team, then he's S tier for like Hall of Fame legend. You can put him on the Buxton team. He's already arguably S tier for All-Star, but that makes him S plus and makes him even better on Hall of Fame. So a very good card. I feel like if you're running Adam Dunn, you're probably using a team boost with him. He's probably genuinely better than A tier. So just assuming there will be a team boost because he fits both of the teams that most people use, I'll bump him to S. Soriano, a great card on paper, just always has a really bad swing. This one also can't play the outfield for some reason. But you know, I believe he has some good quirks, usually has really good stats. Yeah, you can see other than breaking ball, he's got about everything you want. And stats wise, he's not bad. It's just the stats don't really outweigh how terrible his swing is every year. I've seen some people hit very good with this card. I've seen a lot of people hit really bad with this card and they just start him at second just because he's one of the better second basemen. So Austin Riley is very dependent on inside edge and how much you like his swing. I don't enjoy Austin Riley's swing at all, so that already knocks him down in my eyes. On a day like today where I think his inside edge is like plus 11 against righties, probably S tier. But for me personally, with the swing and the fact that he's dependent on the inside edge, probably down. Babe as a first baseman, this is the best first baseman in the game. Without a doubt, you will not see another 125 all hitting stats first baseman for the rest of the year probably, because usually it's only like Babe, so he's already got his card. We got Colt Keith here, a very good option. Everybody I see use this card hits really bad with him. I don't know if necessarily it's because his swing is bad. I don't think his swing looks bad, but I haven't personally used him. I think it's just a lot of people are just using him to grind those tops now moments. Those tops now parallel XP missions, and so they're not really locked in. They're just kind of going through the motions with this card. Stats wise, he is an insane second baseman. The defense isn't great, but since he's a primary second baseman, you know, you get to actually play him at second as a primary. He's not losing 5 fielding. I think he's a great option if you're on a budget. If you are like a no money spent player who doesn't have a ton of time to grind the game, it's going to be hard for you to find a second baseman better than him. Seager, S tier. As a shortstop, it's questionable. It depends on how much you want to value the defense. The bat is crazy. One of the few players I've used all year where everything he touches leaves. He pulls outside sliders. He pulls outside cutters. He's an absolute demon with the bat, but in the field, it's a different story. I've watched him with diamond defense, muff 80-mile-an-hour ground balls. Plays bad at shortstop, plays bad at second base, plays okay at third base. So third's probably where I would prefer him, but obviously most people are running him with the Arenado boost, which kind of hampers that. Eddie, very good option. If you're All-Star, easily an S tier player. If you're Hall of Fame and legend, the contacts are a little bit low, but honestly, he will play just because of the quirk. So I'm going to bump him up. You can see he has every like hitting quirk you'd really want. Dead red, breaking ball, unfazed. Those are the main 3 that you really want. Absolute dog. Again, the contact's a little low. You know, if you want to argue, you can put some parallels on him, make him a little bit more usable. then for sure fielding's never his strong suit. But really, if you're using him, it's because you like the quirks, you like the swing, and you like the power. So not a bad card by any means. Ernie is probably the best shortstop in the game. If you aren't using a captain team, if you are a Hall of Fame legend player and you need a shortstop, him and where is he at? Where is old Rich at? He's hiding. There he is. These two are pretty much the exact same card. One has a little more power, one has more contact. They both field about the same. They both have about the same speed. I probably like Ernie's swing more, but really it's up to you. If you're not running a captain team boost, then one of these two are mainly your only top end shortstop options for Hall of Fame and Legend. Gary, just a very good all-star card now. I don't think he's S tier. You're a psycho if you're using this card on Legend. He's still usable on Hall of Fame, but the low clutch and the low contact against lefties really does hurt him. Not a bad platoon option. Hank Thompson, this card's horrendous. The best thing about him is his versatility. He is like a Chris Taylor type card, basically, where he can play a lot of positions. He doesn't play them particularly well, but he can play a lot of positions. And the bat isn't anything to laugh at. It's okay. It's not great. It's not your ideal pick for any of his positions that he plays. But he does have dead red, so that makes him a little bit better. Hap, S tier. S tier in the infield. On the outfield, he was A tier. Infield, easily S tier. It's going to be hard for you to find a second baseman with the conglomerate like hitting stats that he has. Like if I go pull him up here and we look at his average contact, his average contact is 99, his average power is 96. You're not going to find a second baseman with better hitting stats than that. Yeah, he does struggle quite a bit against lefties, but the fact that he's a switch hitter and the fact that he has breaking ball is going to help him a lot. He is going to be rough at second base, but so are a lot of cards at this point of the game. You know, his main contemporary, I would argue, is like Corey Seager, and he's pretty bad at second base. So you're not losing a lot of defense, and you're gaining a switch hitter, which is a really hard thing to find at this point of the game. The new Jackie. I'm a little torn. I think he's okay. I wish he was second base primary. The power is a little bit low, but he has a lot of good hitting quirks. I don't think he has both. He does. So he has dead red and breaking ball. No unfazed, which kind of sucks. But still, he's going to tear the cover off the ball. If you hit a perfect, it's still going to go. But the power against lefties is a little scary. But the plus side, or is it righties? I think it's righties, actually. Yeah, so the power against righties is a little scary. But the quirks will help offset that. He's going to play decent defense. Not a bad card, especially for a free card. If you are no money spent balling on the budget, you know, no reason you shouldn't have Jackie in the squad. He usually has a pretty good swing too. Burger, B tier. His swing is awesome, but you're only using this card if you are on All-Star. I don't think he makes the Buxton team. I don't think he makes the Arenado team. So this is a straight All-Star. So he does make Buxton, actually. I lied. But this is a straight All-Star card. He's not even that cheap. Like, if you watch the outfield tier list, he's similar to Aaron Hicks. He comes out of that same pack. That pack is not available, so their prices are kind of inflated. So not even really a great budget option. McCann, a top-end catcher option. If you are on higher difficulties and you're not running the Arenado team, he's more or less the best you're going to get. 94, 102, good power, no quirks, which sucks, but great clutch, good fielding. He is insanely slow, so obviously you'd like to put him on the Arenado team. But again, similar to Rich and similar to Ernie, assuming no teams, he's A tier, one of your better options. JD Davis with the Arenado team is probably S tier. One of the only great first base options on like Legend and Hall of Fame. That's why you see him on pretty much every top 50 players team. But he's definitely A tier because he struggles a lot on Hall of Fame and Legend without the team boost, but he is extremely good on All-Star difficulty. So I think that, you know, Hall of Fame and Legend without the team boost, probably down here. All-star without team boost, probably something like here. So we'll balance him out. He'll go in A tier. He's still a very good option, relatively cheap since he was a BR award from last season. Typically, those don't inflate in value until way later. Candelario, A tier stats wise, his clutch is very good, but his contact and powers are kind of like even across the board. A very good card. And if you're balling on a budget, a card that should be on your team. If you are dependent on switch hitters, if you have to have a lineup of full switch hitters, then he probably goes up to S tier for you. But for me personally, I like some other people at third base more, but I can't deny that he's a good option. Mauer with the Arenado boost is probably S tier. Without it, I think he's just kind of A. He's usable on Legend, on Hall of Fame. Without it, he can hit some out, he'll poke some out, but they're probably going to have to be perfects. Really, he benefits an absolute ton from the Arenado team, but he still has good quirks, still has good contacts. It's just the power is very questionable without the Arenado team. Basically swings a noodle against lefties, which is already going to be his hardest at bat. Joe Torre, very good card. Basically right-handed Joe Mauer. I think he might even have more hitting quirks. You can see he has dead red, he has unfazed, no breaking ball, which is weird. I could have swore he had it. But you can see the power against righties, very good, very similar to Mauer. The power against lefties, pretty bad, very similar to Mauer, but is actually higher than Mauer's. So he makes the Arenado team, obviously, and easily S tier with the Arenado team. Whether you want to play him at third or catcher or first, that is up to you. But without the Arenado team, I think he's A tier. He's going to be very good for a lot of people, but if you want to take him to that next level, that S tier, you're going to need to have him on the Arenado team. Joey Meneses has an insanely good swing. Actually, I almost want to kick JD Davis out of this tier because Meneses has a similar, if not better, swing to JD Davis, and just for the most part, better hitting stats across the board than him. This Meneses card is super good. If you are on a budget, knock out your team affinity, knock out that NL East one, pick Joey Meneses. He's going to be a dog. He has a very good swing. I think he has like no quirks. He has breaking ball, which is nice. But he's a lefty killer, which you need right now in the meta of the game. And he's got some positional versatility. I believe he plays third and first. Yeah, so third, first, and you can stick him in the outfield. Probably wouldn't do that, but it's always an option. Mr. George here. So Jorge's very good. His swing is extremely good. Honestly, I think he's S tier. If you like his swing, this card can carry your team. I have had so many people in so many games that can't touch anything against me, and Jorge Polanco just has 3 home runs that game. This is the Lindor from last year. If that card tortured you last year, this card is going to torture you this year. You can see the contact numbers are a little low, so I might have to reevaluate. But the power is great. He has home body and rally monkey. He plays like he has more quirks. Really, the clutch. The clutch saves him. If you can structure your lineup around him in a way to where his clutch is active more than his contact will be, then he's an absolute monster. He's not particularly slow either, and not a bad fielder, assuming you get him to, I believe, what, P3, which is not hard to do at all. P2. You get him to parallel 2. He's not a bad fielder. So he's a great option. Basically, Ian Happ on a budget. If you don't have the budget to go out and get Happ, Jorge Polanco can be just as good for a lot of people. A lot of people really enjoy him. Abreu is similar. He's about in this tier, where without the Arenado boost, he's very good. He's definitely usable. You can see the contact numbers are great. 98.5 average contact is great. 90.5 average power is great. I don't know how they got away with making this card an 89 overall. He's absolutely crazy, and he gets even better on the Arenado team. So really, for him, it's about the swing. I enjoy his swing. I have not used him on my team just because I have people I would rather use at first over him. But if you know money spent, if you're balling on a budget, or if you're running the Arenado team, definitely an S tier option there, but definitely usable without those boosts. Josh Bell. We are going to need a deep dive as to why he's not just Candelario that can play first. So, very, very good contact numbers, assuming you put some parallels on him. The clutch is a little low. and fielding and stuff you don't really care about. But his swing is money. He is a switch hitter. I think honestly he's S tier. Unless you're on Legend, he's S tier. The swing and the ability of being a switch hitter makes him play higher than his overalls. He's always going to have the best matchup when he's hitting. A great card, really good card, great swing. Not a whole lot to complain about Jay Beasy other than the fact that he does not make the Nolan team by 1 speed. So SDS is currently trying to nerf those teams. So Justin Turner, probably S tier if you are on All-Star. He's a great player at second base. It's hard to get those type of hitting stats at second base. But you know, when you start to get the Hall of Fame, he's going to struggle mightily against righties. When you get on Legend, it's going to be impossible to touch a righty with him. Really needs the Arenado boost. So since he's so dependent on it, I think he might even sneak into B tier. But we also have people like Gary here who are also very dependent on it. This Seager card is good. It's not great. It's not as good as it probably should be for how hard it is to obtain. You can see absolutely rakes against righties. He's going to struggle a little bit against lefties. I mean, we were just looking at average power and contact of that Abreu card, and I believe he's higher in both of these categories. So that sucks. The clutch with this card's terrible. Really, his overall is just super inflated because of stuff like discipline and fielding, and you know, fielding being weighted so highly at third base. So would not be my first pick, especially with how many dominant lefty starters there are right now. Really tough. Carpenter, if you are on All-Star, this card's probably A tier, maybe even S tier, depending on how much you like his swing. I love his swing. I am the #1 Matt Carpenter fan. But he's basically unusable on Hall of Fame and Legend. You can make him work on Hall of Fame. I did it for a while, but you don't really want to be using cards that you have to make work. You can see when you're hitting lefty-lefty, I believe mine's like P3. When you're hitting lefty-lefty on Hall of Fame against John Donaldson and Randy Johnson, and you're having to go out and get an away slider consistently with 68 contact and 90 power, and 58 clutch if there's a runner on base, it's tough. It's tough to make him work. You can make him work. His swing is very good. But you know, it's a card that there's an asterisk next to. You have to go out of your way to make that card very good. Andahar basically is third base Jose Abreu. Very decent swing. Some people really hate his swing every year. Some people really enjoy it. It's really up to you. Terrible fielder, but easily makes up for it with the hitting stats. You can see average contact of 98, average power of 89, and you know, the lower power is going to be against lefties, which you'll probably see more, but you also have the handedness advantage on, so it kind of offsets it a little bit. A very decent card, nothing to write home about, but if you're balling on a budget, I think he's like 8,000 stubs right now. Can't go wrong with him. Napoli, if you're on All-Star, is probably S tier. You can't ask for too much more in a catcher than what he provides. Breaking ball, dead red, first pitch hitter, love all of those. But this card falls off a little bit on Hall of Fame, still super usable on Hall of Fame, don't get me wrong. But on Legend, you're not using this card. So I think his real value is on the Buxton team on All-Star. There's not going to be a better catcher in the game than him. On Hall of Fame, if you're still running the Buxton team, it's going to be hard to compete with him at catcher. But overall, when you're playing on Legend, stuff like that, late Hall of Fame against players that know how to exploit that difficulty, know what to throw you to make at-bats really tough, he's going to struggle. Piazza, very similar. It kind of depends on how much you like his swing. Honestly, for me, again, this year, his swing's like F tier. It's not very good. But I do recognize that a lot of people are enjoying this card. There's a lot of top players that are liking this card. They made his swing a little bit better, but it's still not my cup of tea per se. But you put him on the Nolan team, easily S tier, probably the best hitting stats out of any catcher in the game. It's just the swing isn't great for me. I don't love the swing. Mitch Garver, another guy that's very similar to all of these guys, except, you know, you put him on the Arenado team, he's competing with Mike Piazza for one of the better hitters in the game, and he's a catcher. So anytime you can get that value out of a catcher is great. Him and Joe Torre are very similar. They are probably my 2 picks for the best catcher in the game with the Nolan team right now. So they are very solid cards. Garver gives you a little more power, doesn't quite have the contact and clutch, doesn't quite have all the quirks that Joe Torre has. So, you know, at that point, you're splitting hairs. Really, you're picking what swing you like more. Mookie, this is actually probably the best shortstop in the game right now. Doesn't make any team boost, but also maybe not a shortstop because you have to superfractor him to get him his diamond defense. Whereas I believe Ernie probably gets that earlier. No, actually, Ernie's a gold fielder too. So yeah, I would probably take Mookie over both of these guys. Obviously, Supercharge right now, he's probably the best player in the game. Without the Supercharge, he's almost always playing up with inside edge. It's really about what side. You probably want the inside edge to be against righties because he already massacres lefties. So really good card. The best shortstop in the game right now, probably the best second baseman in the game, and one of the better outfielders in the game. So we talked about that versatility. Mookie is great no matter where you play him at. Castellanos, another guy who's great no matter where you play him at. I think he has first base, third base, and every outfield position. So no center field, but you'd be a madman to play him in center field anyway. You know, this is a card you're probably going to put some parallels on. Looks absolutely crazy. Max contact, probably the highest average contact of any card in the game not named Babe Ruth. And then 113 average power. So every time you're stepping up to the box, you're basically at 113, 113 with 104 clutch. Good enough fielding, honestly. Like, his fielding's high enough to where if you play him at a secondary, it's not going to knock him down the shield level. He's still going to have good reaction. And that arm's usable at third base, definitely usable at first base. If we get into a meta where you need even more righties, right? If we get another extremely dominant lefty starting pitcher and you just need more righties, maybe it's time to, you know, push like Jordan out and DH Babe or something like that. Castellanos could easily be the best first baseman in the game in a meta like that. Oswaldo has crazy versatility. I believe he has crazy clutch because I also saw him on the outfielder tier list. Yeah, so 104 clutch. You're getting a switch hitter with great power against both sides and a very good swing. So easily S tier here. You know, up there competing with these guys. The average contact's a little lower than a lot of these guys, but the clutch is absolutely crazy. Definitely a good option. Palmeiro would not be my first pick at first base, even with the Nolan Arenado boost. He's all right and he has a good swing, but anytime you're having to hit lefty, you're not gonna have a fun time. You know, just going through this top end, if you ran the top tier options at a lot of these positions, you would have like Corey Seager, Ed Matthews, and Babe Ruth. That is 3 lefties already in your infield. It's tough to work in somebody like Palmeiro. Chances are, if you have Palmeiro, you probably have Ruth, because you made a priority of getting the live series done. And Ruth is just better. He's just better. You don't really want to play Babe in the outfield. He's usable in the outfield, but really you want to have him as a first baseman. So he kind of negates the usefulness of Palmeiro. Roderick Arias. This card's close. The stats hold him back, but a lot of people really enjoy his swing. Really, it's the contact numbers. The contact numbers are abysmal on this card. He is basically Ellie De La Cruz in a Yankee uniform. You can see the fielding is crazy. The speed is crazy. If you are on All-Star, this is a crazy card. If you are on Hall of Fame, it's still usable if you really enjoy the swing and you want a switch hitter. If you're on Legend, this card's probably down here, honestly. You're making that card work if you're on Legend with that card. Ryan Clifford. I saw this guy. I just wanted to include him as a little mention. He's going B tier because pretty much you are only using this guy as like a platoon DH or, you know, you are an all-star player who's got no chance of ending up on Hall of Fame when you load into a game. This guy on the Buxton boost looks insane. So you're getting 96 power. Is the Buxton team 20? Let's see. Maybe I should have got Javi in the list. I might get Javi in the list, actually. tier 3. Here we go. So you're getting 15 power. So he's getting up to basically 90 power against lefties, and 125 against righties. So as a DH, or as a platoon outfielder on the Buxton card, you're not getting a whole lot better than that Ryan Clifford card. Let's go ahead and add, we'll add Javi. It's basically a Buxton exclusive card. This card is horrendous to use without the boost. He is hard to hit righties with. The stats against righties are just really like subpar for him. They're not abysmal. You can make them work, but 80 and 75 is just not good. Like, you don't even want that card in BR. You definitely don't want him running out there in ranked for you. Really, with him, you are more so dependent on getting that Buxton boost, and getting, him at least usable against righties and making him mash against lefties. And he's not really doing that without the boost. Tario Estrada probably goes like top of A tier. Another guy similar to like Rich and Ernie Banks, where if you aren't running one of these team boosts and you are on these higher difficulties, he is one of your only options, really. So you're seeing 101 average contact, pretty decent average power, awesome clutch. The clutch is the best thing about this card, other than his fielding. The fact that he can play all of these infield positions, and he won't drop off of a diamond fielder after you add one parallel onto him is huge. Very good versatility out of that card. He's a very good option. I don't think he costs that much. So not a bad card. Would not be my first pick, but not a bad card. Story. If you are on All-Star / Hall of Fame and you're using the Buxton boost, he's up here. Like, his swing is that good. He absolutely tears the cover off the ball, and his stats go crazy when you get him on the Buxton team. But realistically, where most people will be using him is All-Star, Hall of Fame, on the Buxton team. You're not probably touching this card on Legend. If you do, it's because of the clutch, and you're kind of structuring your lineup more so around just how great his swing is and getting him hitting opportunities with runners on base. So he's not a bad card. He's kind of lost in the shuffle, which sucks, because if this card came out, earlier in the year, he would have been my pick for my Buxton shortstop. I probably would have used him into my World Series run. I love Trevor Story. I love his swing. It's unreal every single year. But the stats just aren't there. Objectively, with no team boost, the stats just aren't there. He really needs to be on the Buxton team. And then Mancini, a very, very, very good hitter, and he gets the Arenado team. So on the Arenado, you're looking at 106 contacts. No, okay, I don't know why they flip it like that. You're getting 116 contact right, I believe. And then you're getting a power bump against lefties, so you're looking at like 118, I think, against lefties. He's would get a clutch bump. This guy would be crazy as a first baseman or as a DH. So I think it's worth mentioning Mancini. And then Willie Castro. If you are on All-Star with the Buxton boost, he might not be a world beater, honestly. But really where this card has the absolute most value is if you are on Hall of Fame and still running the Buxton boost. If you are on Hall of Fame and still running the Buxton boost, he gives you something that almost no other card in the game can give you. I wish you could kind of see him like added onto it. But basically on the Buxton boost, you're not getting contact like this on the Buxton boost, right? Most Buxton hitters that make the Buxton team have really low contact, and that's why their vision also sucks. But he has crazy good contact. He will get like 20 power against both sides on the Buxton team. He gets really fast, and he gets an entire tier bump worth of fielding. So he is an awesome card on the Buxton team if you're on Hall of Fame, if you're on All-Star. He would be great on Legend, but realistically on Legend, you're not running the Buxton team. And yeah, guys, that is the infield. I'm sure I missed somebody because there's just so many infield options. I was really blown away with how many there are. There's a lot of great options. A lot of the new team affinity players have weird secondary positions. A lot of like the prospect cards and stuff. So I'm sure I missed one. But overall, I'm fairly happy with this. So I will just kind of scroll up and down so you guys can get the full grasp if there's any cards that you guys are looking to use. But I think you can't go wrong with any of these S tier options. They are all very good. I'm very hesitant on Ernie. Ernie has an asterisk because, or not Ernie, Ed. Ed has an asterisk just because it depends on how many lefties you already have in your lineup. If you already have 3 lefties in your lineup and he's going to make it 4, then he's not worth having. But if you somehow lack lefties, there's every good hitter in the game right now is basically a lefty. So if you lack lefties in your lineup, he can be a very good bat. If you're on All-Star, he's great. If you're on Hall of Fame, he's great. Just probably will have a slight fall off on Legend, but the quirks always help. So yeah, guys, that's going to be it for the tier list. As always, if you did enjoy the video, like and subscribe, because we will have more content coming. Next video, top 50 players in the game. Till next time, peace.